just our initial touch base call, one of the things that you talked about, which I thought was really fascinating, was the way that you strive to connect the students with their tutors. And I wonder if you can talk about that in addition to, because the tutors are meeting a need. Obviously, the student says, hey, I've got this assignment, I don't understand how to do it, help me. So there's a real need there. But beyond that, you've done some work to really connect, to make connections that are going to keep people coming back. And can you talk about that a little bit as well?
Yeah, no, I love this because this is really what I would say this is the core, which was the hardest to solve for and build for. But us being Gen Z founders who really understood how Gen Z think about education and not instilling biases or opinions that did not come from how they think is what wired the success here. What I mean by that, early on, we recognized students, most, and again, I do not want to be generalizing. I'm just going to say most, especially from the data we've collected, they are more receptive to what their friends say, what they're seeing on social media, than maybe what an instructor would have to say, or maybe even a parent. And early on, it was clear to us that if we pair students with such people, aka tutors of similar age, so most of our tutors are college age, which is a few years away, or maybe even the same age as our students, we would have that. Why, you may ask? They both probably are watching the same NBA game. They're watching the same sports games happening. They like the same type of movies, TV show, video games, and there's a lot of conversation and relatability that's sparked from there. So now when they come to get homework, a tutor could spark off a conversation and all of a sudden they've captivated that student because like, oh, wow, he's just like my friend. In fact, he's even cooler than my friend, or she's even cooler than my friend. And that actually ends up turning into a relationship, a friendship relationship in parallel to the assignments they're getting help with. And by the way, this is stuff that as we start to realize, we start to build more and more upon. And I'm like kind of explaining to you from the perspective we noticed it, to the point where in some cases they would build such strong relationships. A lot of times they would try to take it off the app. Obviously, us as a business, we built a lot of off-platform prevention measures that prevent anybody from leaving the app. Huge revenue savings there, but we'll talk about that later. But the point is the relationships were so good that was happening. And by default, the students were more receptive to the tutor. They were more willing to trust them. Learning was made easier. A lot of students come in with a perception that they don't want to learn at all. There's alternative tools out there. I don't want to name them, where you don't necessarily have to learn to get help with your homework. They come in with that, but the tutor, because they built that trust with them, changes their mentality towards it, where they can actually show them that there's a value proposition to learning. And again, because they're actually engaged with the conversation, it stems out well. And for example, I had mentioned this to you earlier, in a quarter from our active students, we see like 14 hours of communication because they enjoy talking so much. And again, when I'm saying 14 hours, I'm not saying, oh, wow, we were able to get them to spend 14 hours a quarter talking about homework. No, a lot of it is just talking about fun stuff that they like about. But in parallel or simultaneously, there's that assistance with homework. And that is really the core. When you look very down deep, that's what's powering our app. And it's very hard for another app to come in and reproduce that. It's because of the moving pieces and how we were able to get it to where it is today.
Did you learn something just now? Get the full episode of Ways We Learn wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, we'd love to get your rating or review.